Hello there, and what's going on, you guys? So today I decided I wanted to make a very special, unique video with 2023 wrapping up. I'll be having my worst of 2023 and best of 2023 videos coming out, but there's something a little more unique, a little more special, and something a little more relevant and important that I want to talk about. And that is my opinion. My opinion changes. Everybody reviews movies, whether they like to admit it or not. Their opinion constantly changes. And we may say something the audiences agree with or disagree with in our reviews. Sometimes our opinions stay, sometimes they change. Sometimes we think we're right, sometimes we still think we're wrong. So today we'll be revisiting 8 movies that were hot topics, highly divisive, highly debated on the internet and the critic and the movie community that came out this year that I gave reviews of. Either if I said I liked them or didn't like them, if they were okay, and see if my opinion has changed or stayed, and now if I think they're either good or bad. Let's get into it. Kicking things off, we're going to start with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. This is a movie that I currently had a poster of up on my wall. It's a little up here. You can't quite really see it, but it's a movie that I had massive anticipation for. I reacted to the trailer, came out just so much hype for me, and I really wanted it to be good. And I saw it, and in my initial review, I gave it a 6 out of 10, and said I wasn't prepared to give it higher or lower than that. And after thinking about it and sitting there for basically half a year, I have to say, it doesn't hold up. This movie really isn't what I really wanted to be. I just realized I was trying to ignore factors of the movie that were bad. I was trying to lie to myself, say I liked it. I just couldn't admit it. I couldn't bring myself to say it. It hurt me too much to say that I didn't like an Indiana Jones movie. So I even kind of like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And the thing is, the first act of this movie is pretty good, and there's some stuff with Indy in about the beginning of the second act that's really good. But the movie isn't it. It's not an Indiana Jones movie. Disney really messed this up, especially with the Helena character, everything with that, the way they treat Indiana Jones in here, the way it doesn't have the feels of the original. Steven Spielberg feels so absent in here. I'm not saying the movie's all bad. I still think there are some good parts to this movie, but it's nowhere near as good as it should be, and it's so much worse. The more I've thought about it, the more unhappy I've become and realized I was more liking the potential of what this could have been than what it really was. So with that said, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, I've changed my opinion. It's bad. Next we're going to talk about is going to be The Flash, the big multiverse movie for DC that was written so long ago, we didn't get forever, tons of controversy surrounded it. It was said to be as good as The Dark Knight at first, then everything changed. There was rumors about the CG effects, Ezra Miller, everything like that. It came out, didn't do well at the box office, kind of bombed really bad, and just so much happened. And a lot of people became divided on this. In my initial review, I said I really liked it. I gave it a 7 out of 10. And that still divided people. Some people said they liked it, some people they hated it. And I've thought about The Flash again, almost half a year now. Had a lot of time on this one, same as Dial of Destiny. And after thinking about it, my point still stands, if not even a little bit more so. I really like The Flash, and I'm not going to let internet peer pressure change my mind about it. Let me preface this. Are the VFX bad? Yes, they are atrocious, and there are some shots that look worse than things I've seen on the internet made by fans who don't even have this $1 million budget. Nevertheless, though, if I can look past just the VFX, and I look at the actual movie and the story and what happens in it, I like it. I'm very satisfied with the movie. I think the movie is still very good. While there are some missed potential for some cameos in here, I feel like, I think that that's not a major aspect. That's one of the reasons I love The Flash. It's not a cameo fest. It's actually telling a story first with some cameos and with some characters that we're familiar with. I still really like this movie. I think it's a good DC movie. I'm gonna right now say, I think this is top 5 DCEU movies now that it's all over. I think that was generally some of the best stuff DC ever put out, and I really like it. I like the way it connected it to just the Snyderverse, but the old universe, which kind of made me a little happy. I like this movie a lot, and I'm going to stand by it. So with The Flash, my opinion has stayed the same. The Flash is good. Moving along, we're going to talk about the video game adaptation Five Nights at Freddy's, a movie I look forward to, again, in production forever. So many fans had something to say about this, whether you're someone who found the game through online, you played it, read the comics, just so much lore packed into this. I saw the movie initially and did not like it, gave it a harsh review, just despised everything about it. And here's the thing, I wasn't being like subtle or anything. I was being as kind as I could be. I was trying to be nice even then when I gave it that bad review. So I really disliked this movie. And I've sat on it. I've thought about it again, like all these other things. But more than that, I went online, listened to what other people said, and what gamers and people who are attached to this franchise said, and realized, yeah, is the movie messy? Yup, but Also, that was kind of how the lore is in the games as well. And here's the thing, there's still aspects here I think don't help. Some of the performances aren't good. Some of the story isn't necessarily the best. But again, a lot of this is inherent because the game is the way it was. And this was made for Five Nights at Freddy's fans. I'm not one. This movie wasn't made for me. So it's kind of weird of me to say, I hate this movie. I don't like this movie. It's wrong, it's bad. But to say, no, they actually got all that right. That's the way it should be. So it's kind of me judging it on grounds that aren't really something I have a right to judge it on. I don't think it's fair. And honestly, after understanding a lot more and looking a little more into the lore, I have to say, my opinion changed. I think Five Nights at Freddy is overall a good movie because it does what it needs to do and it pleases the fans. And while it may not subjectively be something I like, I think it accomplished this job well enough, so my opinion has changed. Five Nights at Freddy is good. Alright, next we gotta talk about Napoleon. This is a movie polarizing, going back and forth, historical accuracy, not historically accurate, ruining Napoleon, getting history wrong, being awesome, really being what we wanted. Just so much division I've seen online over this movie. I've seen some people say it's the best, and some people say the worst, and some people just forget it existed. I personally, when I first saw Napoleon, said it was good. It said I was aware it wasn't historically accurate, but Ridley Scott, had said all this stuff about it, so I was okay with it. And people said, no, it's not, it's bad. Thought about it for a while, and I have decided that pretty much my opinion hasn't changed. My opinion of this movie is about the same as when I initially saw it. I like this movie. I do think one of the things I think is a detractor is, with hindsight, I realized it was more just like bullet points in Napoleon's life. But other than that, I liked it. He said there's a longer cut, Ridley Scott did, that he's going to release a director's cut, and Amazon's like 4 hours, 3 hours long. And I think that will flesh it out a little more. But for the theatrical, we had to get so they could fill in screen times in the theater. I was satisfied with it. Why am I not offended by it not being historically accurate? Well, because Ridley Scott literally told critics to go F off because he doesn't care. He never was trying to make a historically accurate movie. And I think understanding the difference between the two for me was really allowed me to just accept it. There's so many historical movies I love. Gladiator, also made by Ridley Scott, is not accurate at all, but I love that movie. And the same can be said for Napoleon. While he takes a lot of creative liberties, I like most of those liberties. While I will say some of them I wasn't fond of, most of them I was, and this movie still to me was epic. It was perfect. It got me right where I wanted to be and gave me those vibes and got me some battle sequences and a fun, entertaining movie with more comedy than I thought and some really good performances backed up with some great production design and something that kept me invested. So I'm going to say my opinion for Napoleon has stayed. Napoleon is good. Here's how getting around it. We have to talk about The Little Mermaid. 2023 brought us another Disney live-action remake, and this time it was of a classic fairy tale that started the Disney Renaissance era. My initial review gave it a 4 out of 10. I said it's alright, it's okay, don't hate it, don't love it, it's just there. I ruminated with those thoughts for a while as someone who wasn't necessarily passionate about anything that was involved in this. But I don't know, something about Disney this year really grinded with me. And my opinion, swinging a little bit different. I gotta say, this movie, I caught a little bit of it on rewatch, and I rewatched it afterwards because I had to. So not it. This movie is longer than the original while adding nothing to the story, but actually detracting stuff from it. It lacks charm. It lacks energy. It's boring. It doesn't keep you invested. You're not locked in. It's not a classic. No one's going to remember this. It's just a cash grab. It's Disney remaking something because they can make money. And it just feels so heartless and soulless. There's nothing behind it. Everything just doesn't seem right. A lot of stuff in animation can't be transferred over this way, and too much of it's changed that made it good to begin with. It just lacks that original magic. I really feel the Disney corporate greed all over this one, and I can't stand it, and I don't like it. It's just, everything's so artificial looking in it. Not a fan. My opinion has changed. The Little Mermaid 2023 is bad. Our favorite drug-snorting animal, Cocaine Bear, is the next thing we are going to be discussing here. Because initially I saw this movie, gave it a really raving positive review, said it was fun, loved it, it was dumb, it was stupid, did everything it needed to do. Had a lot of fun with it. People debated that. There's people saying I liked it, I hated it, it sucked, it was good, it was bad. Back and forth a whole lot. Gave me some reason to be like, let me watch it again. It got on like streaming, I watched it. I see your point now, people. I see your point. Because Cocaine Bear isn't very good. This movie has too much extra than it actually needs. This movie should have just been Bear sniffs cocaine, goes on rampage, here are a few characters who get stuck in the middle. This movie's not. It has way too much backstory for characters and lore for them and all this stuff, and gets way too distracted from the bear oftentimes and forgets to give us just that bear killing and destroying and being crazy. If you're going to have that crazy premise, you got to go all the way with it. And the movie doesn't dedicate itself. And on rewatch, you really realize how little the bears in the movie is just a bunch of people talking, which just isn't it. It's just you missing the mark. It's so wrong. This movie definitely missed what it could have done. Such a disappointment, especially when I thought about it and just, God, you could have done so much with this movie. This is also more than just being bad. It's missed potential. It's left there with Dial of Destiny. So I'm going to say my opinion has changed. Cocaine Bear, it's bad. And last but not least, we're going to talk about a very recent Divisive film, Rebel Moon. One that came out very recently. As a matter of fact, came out about a little over a week ago. Something that already has people going back and forth. And I'm going to be honest, I think a lot of this is just because of the camps with Zack Snyder. You have those people who hate him with vitriol. Wouldn't matter what this man made. He can make the best thing on the planet. They would say it's bad because it's Zack Snyder. And the other camp, you have Zack Snyder's shills and fans who he can make the worst thing on the planet and literally film bird poop on fire. They say it's the best thing ever. And no one's actually being critical. They're just saying what they always say. And I always seem to fall in the middle of that and then get pulled on either side depending on what I say. People say you're in this camp or that camp. And it's hard because Zack Snyder's someone, like I said, I respect the effort he puts in. Doesn't always turn out a good product. And one of the biggest criticisms of this movie was it's basically Star Wars and Seven Samurai just by Zack Snyder and not as good. I thought about this movie and I gotta say, I'm not seeing a lot of the criticism simply because Zack Snyder said this is a passion project for him. This is something he really always wanted to make. He originally made it for Star Wars and didn't really change the script much, so it makes sense to have similarities to Star Wars and Seven Samurai, which was one of the things that helped inspire Star Wars. Is the movie got atrocious dialogue and thin characters? Yeah, but other than that, I think it does its purpose to be entertaining. It's an entertaining film. I liked watching Rebel Moon, and I don't know. While I think it's flawed, I don't think by any means it's bad. I just don't see a lot of this criticism where people are saying it's boring and it's terrible and it's the worst thing and it's so bad and Zack Snyder's failed. I don't, because I actually got excited to see part 2 and I liked what he put in here and I liked the world building. So yeah, anyway, with all that, I've thought about it. My opinion has stayed the same. Rebel Moon, it's good. Well, that's going to do it for now, guys. That's pretty much all I wanted to say. I really had fun making this video, so let me know down below in the comments if I got it right or wrong. Movies with controversial opinions that you have opinions about. I'd love to hear it. Thank you guys always so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys all next time.